Hello everyone. Sexual reproduction in flowering plants. Subtopic outbreeding devices. So let's start the topic outbreeding devices. You know that majority of the flowering plants produce the hermaphrodite flowers. What's the meaning of hermaphrodite flowers? Means which contain both male and female reproductive structure, means which produces the pollen grains and the stigma, which contain the stigma also. So the pollen grains are likely to come in contact with the stigma of the same flower. So this continued cell pollination means the flower that is producing the both type of the gametes at a time. So it leads to the continuous cell pollination, and this cell pollination that results in the inbreeding depression. So what is this inbreeding depression? Inbreeding depression means the plant which contain which develop some diseases and which do not have the reproductive fitness, or the some unwanted characters that develop in plants. So, the flowering plants have developed many devices to discourage the cell pollination and encourage the cross pollination. Means the plants to discourage, they discourage the they discourage the cell pollination and encourage the cross pollination to avoid the inbreeding depression. So here what are they? So these are called as outbreeding devices. Okay. In some species, pollen release and stigma receptivity are not synchronized. So the first one is the stigma receptivity. So if the flower that contain both, just imagine it contain both the male reproductive structure and the female reproductive structure. But when the pollen grains are ready, the stigma is not develop its receptivity. Stigma is not able to receive the pollen grains. When the stigma has the receptivity, the pollen grains are not ready. Means the release of the pollen grain and the stigma receptivity, that is not synchronized. So this is one of the important outbreeding device that is developed in the flowering plants to avoid the inbreeding depression. And the second one, either the pollen is released before the stigma, or so that is same, stigma becomes receptive, or the stigma becomes receptive much before the release of the pollen. So that is about the pollen release and the stigma receptivity that is not synchronized. Then in some other species, the anther and stigma are placed at the different positions so that the pollen cannot come in contact with the stigma of the same flower. Both these devices prevent the autogamy. So just imagine the stigma that is at the different position and the pollen grains develop at the different positions. So the pollen grain that is not able to reach the stigma of the same flower because of their position. So they are placed at the different position. Sometimes this structure, the stamens are covered within the flower. So like that, the because of their positions, the plant is not able to perform the autogamy. So these both devices, so when the stigma receptivity and the pollen release is not synchronized, and this the different position of this stigma and the pollen grains, so these both devices prevent the autogamy. Autogamy means transfer of the pollen grains to the stigma of the same flower. Then the third device to prevent the inbreeding is self-incompatibility. What is this self-incompatibility? Self-incompatibility means the genetic mechanism and which prevents the self pollen when the pollen grain of the same flower transfer to the same stigma of the same flower. So the from the fertilizing the ovules by inhibiting the pollen germination or the pollen tube growth on the pistil. So the pollen grains that is not able to germinate because of the some chemicals or the because of the some genetic mechanism, so that prevent the germination or the pollen tube growth on the pistil. So that is called as the self incompatibility. Then another device to prevent the self pollination is the production of the unisexual flowers. So what's the meaning of unisexual flowers? Unisexual flowers means which contain either male reproductive structure or female reproductive structure. So if the flower that contain any one, just imagine the flower that contain only stigma, style and the ovary and the remaining excessive whorls, then the pollen grain that is transferred from the another flower, right? So that is called as, that is also device that prevent the autogamy. So if both male and female flowers are present on the same plant such as castor and the maize, it prevents the autogamy but not the geitonogamy. So in some plants the autogamy is prevented when the flowers are present on the same plant. So like castor and the maize, it prevents the autogamy but not the geitonogamy. So in several species such as papaya, male and female flowers are present on the different plants. Male is, so in papaya, male is present in one plant. So just imagine this is one plant, only male flowers are there in one plant, and in another plant female flowers will be there. So this type of the plants, they prevent the, so this is called as dioecy, and this condition prevents both autogamy and geitonogamy. If the male flower is present in one plant and the female in the another plant, so that type of the arrangement that prevent the autogamy and geitonogamy. But in case of the maize and papaya, so these are the monoecious plants, means this maize is also producing the male or female flower, but within the same plant. The flowers that produced within the same plant in maize and the castor, which do not prevent the geitonogamy. Autogamy is prevented but the geitonogamy is not prevented. Okay, so this is about the some outbreeding devices. The first one is about the stigma and the pollen grain residue that is not synchronized, and the second one, the different position of the pollen, that is anther and the stigma, and the third one the self incompatibility, and the fourth one unisexual flowers. So here we studied about the how the plants they prevent the both autogamy and geitonogamy, and some plants like castor and the maize which is not able to prevent the geitonogamy. Thank you.